and what's your concept? How do you get inspired? How did you do your design work?
The first thing that happens is that the individuals that are instrumental in the bank itself in communicating to us their desires for how they want to be represented, what they want people to think about them with their spaces.
So did you do a programming session or
Yes.
kind of a work session to draw all that out?
Yes, and Lauren was very instrumental in that, along with a few other people that their input was valuable. Our role was to create an inspirational interior.
Okay.
So we started with brainstorming between us of how do we want to feel in the space. That is much more important to us than the individual details of square footage per executive or else.
And how would you explain that feel that you picked up? What's the feel that you try to create in this particular space?
Definitely that of a different environment of communication, of social, good feeling of collaboration from bank members to their clients. Very personal and also, very trustworthy, clear thinking, modern.
Right.
There were a lot of elements that were brought to the table in thought that we tried to communicate in physical space. So that brought art to play, that brings color palette to play, light, space, how that actually feels when you walk in.
It's really interesting to hear the designers talk about those concepts because the people who build it never know that conversation.
Correct.
Or seldom ever know that conversation, and seldom ever have the benefit of going through the process to understand how this space was put together. Right. They just go in and say, okay, there's a wall and there's studs and ceiling and drop lights, and oh God, why'd they use those lights? And oh, we could put this up a lot faster if you do this and do that. But they never hear the conversation in terms of the conceptual part. That's the difference.
We do try to explain that as we go along when those questions arise. Hey, why can't we switch this out? We try to give a really thoughtful response to that so that they do have an understanding because they are partners on the team with us.
Ultimately.
And they really need to
But when you're doing, but typically when you're doing the design work,
They're not
there.
Not usually, no.
No, it's like you're having to do it with a surrogate contractor because you really don't know how they're going to respond to that.
True.
And then the client has the responsibility with you guys to go out and find that contractor to do it.
Oh, yes, and that, I must say, was handled extremely well. We're very happy about this project and the team members as part of it. Certainly Ron with Merrick and many others, but one of the things I'd like to bring up, the first inspiration for this project, and especially because we actually got involved in even the color branding and thoughtful process of the entire impact through this bank, not only their physical spaces, but how they were going to propel themselves forward into the public. This started actually with one magazine picture of the Earth from satellite. And that was actually the most telling part for us. We started with that for color.
So that's this one.
That one for nature. Looking out the windows from Williams Tower, it's totally an amazing experience.
It's very appropriate. We're in Houston. That's NASA photograph.
Exactly.
So yes, that works pretty well.
And we felt like it
must be good.
Such an inspirational, just color palette, feel. We're up. We're really looking at the big picture.
Right.
We're not trying to get involved in smaller levels of what is normally done in a bank. We really did not concern ourselves with that at all. This was a much higher level of thinking of individuals and how they wanted to be represented and felt.
Correct. Got it. Okay. Well, why don't you walk us through
Very good.
The plan and the material selection, the way you did that to see how well we put it all together.
Amy's going to do most of that.
All right.
She's very good at that. I'm going to be hanging out.
Okay, Amy.
Well, we'll start with level 38 because that was really the first project that we got off the ground. We really settled ultimately on a beautiful rich navy, a green, and a tan. And so as you come up to level 38, what we've used is that real tan background, the warm golden, and these bronzy elements that are truly part of their signage and part of their branding.
There are natural elements also that were brought in that started that whole process from nature to be brought into this space. So everything was thought about in that way.
We have stone, we've got a leather-like wall covering material, we've got an actual hide carpet that brings some texture and some natural element in, and just natural fibers, natural colorings, and even
we
in our
used
art.
a flooring that mimics wood. You do think it's wood, but it's actually vinyl. So it was an extremely durable concept and fit the needs perfectly. One of the most important things that we bring to any project is extreme detail. Every inch, literally, has been thought about by us, thought about, viewed mentally, conceptually. How does it work with the piece next to it, down the hall, throughout the entire space, and from level to level.
Here again, we see some custom chairs that we worked on for that space. We were very particular about having some dramatic light fixtures that led the eye through the space and back to the water wall, which was such a main feature for that area.
Oh, that's right, because you are right next to the water wall.
And again, nature was a really prominent role because you look out and you see that beautiful green, you see the water. We wanted that feel to come inside, and we did that with some natural plant material. And then it brings us to our project that we're working on right now, which is level 34. And again, you kind of get the same feel when you look at the color palette as what we had happening on 38. But here we brought in a little bit more of the green note. And so it's all very consistent, but there's a note of difference. It feels the same for the client coming up. They experience that kind of quality space, but yet there's something unique about it. And so we've just slightly tweaked our color palette. But you can see again, we use those natural elements. We've got stone on the reception wall. We've done some beautiful wall covering here, similar to level 38, but yet has just a slight difference to it. And again, kind of stone, glass, and our fabric.
And this is under construction right now.
It sure is.
When will it be complete?
March.
Move in. You're going to move in March?
We are.
Okay, great. And have they moved into 38 already?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Okay, they're in 38.
And it's a great success.
Good. Well, that's always the best test,
It's
is
really-
whether or not the client says it's a great success.
It's interesting right now what you're seeing is kind of the finished product, especially with 38 in the lobby because we're done with those spaces.
Right.
What you don't have the privilege of seeing right now is the interaction that takes place with the client and with ourselves that culminate in these final palettes.
Correct.
And it is definitely Lauren, the bank, the whole process of coming together, and quite honestly, even Ron with Merrick was on board very early with the lobby and level 34.
Bringing reality to, yes, we can do
Can't
this,
do that,
or
or
maybe
can't
we
do
shouldn't
that.
do
Maybe we
that.
should look at something else.
Exactly.
Which is
And-
extremely valuable, I
Yeah,
must
because
add.
there are things that we can't anticipate, but Ron can, and there's always a solution if we just all bring our heads together and find some creative way, whether it's, adding in some acoustical panels,
Right.
whether it's, moving a light around a little bit.
So you did use your span on this one?
We sure did, and we've done some
Some
wrap
other
panels.
Wrap panels with this, and then
Yes.
you did the murals in the break room, and then you did the other panels. What other
Ceiling
wall?
panels were
Oh, yeah,
added.
you did the drop
The
ceiling.
wrap
Yes.
ceiling.
Yeah, wrap
We
ceiling.
created the beams and that whole look in the lobby
Yeah,
that gave it a signature presence of architecture. All of that was brought in from our team of how do we want it to feel, where it really had its own presence, because previously it really had been an unbalanced space. The presence of art, the presence of a continuity of color palette throughout, those are really the hallmarks of design and the presence of our company.
so let me ask a question. Was this designed to be a quiet space, or was this designed to be an active space?
It's active because it's quiet, because the people provide the activity.
Okay.
And they provide the connectivity, that is what we are housing. We're their background, but their background supports them, because we are not trying to gain, we're not trying to gain their attention. We're trying to support
What
their
they're doing.
individual activities.
Excellent. We heard Lauren talk about how everything worked and the symbolism behind the sign in the lobby and how that works with the logo, and can you just kind of tell us how that came about?
Well, I think the metal bronze and the neutrality of just the strength of the metal itself was brought in as a symbol, and it's been used throughout in many different ways on tables. It's been used as signage. It's been used as part of an actual logo, and throughout it represented, I think, just that strength of natural that the bank wanted to have partner in its name.
And are you did you leave it raw so that it would patina, or did you patina part of it, or
some of it is shown in darker levels, but it patinas to a green, which was part of our initial thinking of the transitions that happen in natural spaces, and there's levels of nature shown everywhere. And I think the aging process of the bronze to just one more level of beauty was actually part of the thinking of continuity of the bank.
Right.
It's a timeless piece. You know, the bronze is timeless.
It's shown in
really
art, it's
conveys
shown in mirrors, it's shown throughout the whole space.
Correct. So one of the keys is that we try to get the contractor to understand what the designer did for the client, with the client, when they design the space. And the issue is that most contractors don't see that. Is that what you found? And they don't understand, don't want to know?
It's more so they don't care to know.
They don't care to know.
They will
why?
attend a weekly meeting and pretend that they're listening, but they truly don't care about the design and how to incorporate it while they're constructing. So if you can find a partner, a contractor that actually does listen, that does want to understand the design, like Merrick Brothers has been, then it's a dream.
So you found that with Merrick Brothers then?
Absolutely.
And you found that with the guy that you've been working with?
With the guy that I've been working with, and then when we took a break to work with somebody else, we lost it again, and we ended up with a contractor and a crew that didn't understand the design and didn't care to understand it, and it was shown in the finished product. So it's just a blessing and a huge plus to be able to have a contractor that does care to know about how the design works and how it should be implemented on site.
Anything else you want the readers, viewers to know?
Just that we love our work.
Well,
And
that's-
that
congratulations.
we
Take a lot of pride in it.
really enjoyed. This was a major accomplishment in our company and a privilege to have been able to work on.